One of the big questions we get is, I've got a 5-foot tube, I got a 4-foot tube, I got a 6-foot tube, and the deer are still browsing the top. I underestimated how many deer and the size of my deer in my property. So that's a common question we get. So I'm gonna tell you how to make an extension. You'll need a couple things. One is a sharp knife or razor knife. You'll need a 1-foot, 2-foot extension, however tall you wanna go. And you'll need a small diameter stake to do this. And what we do is, we make a couple small slits in the side of the tube. If I have a stake that's long enough to reach this first zip, the top zip tie on the tube, I only need 1 slit. So I'm gonna make the first slit. Now, if I have enough to reach the bottom, the zip tie, I thread it through, go down here to the zip tie, loosen the zip tie up, put that bamboo right in there, pull that zip tie tight, and that's not going anywhere. When you're making your slits, you want to make sure you're in line with your stake. Then I take my extension, I went with too tall of a stake here, so I gotta reach up. A little shorter here. Gather this tree up inside. Make sure your leader is inside that extension. Pull it tight. Now I've turned my 5-foot tube into a 6-foot tube. Now, if your stake isn't long enough, let's go back here, loosen that. Let's say your stake isn't long enough to reach that top zip tie. You just need to make a second slit, and make sure when you're making your slit, you're not going to cut the trunk of the tube, or the trunk of the tree. You can see it in there. Thread it through the top like I did on the first one, then thread it through this bottom hole. Boom, that's not going anywhere. And then we can just slide this down, grab your tree up, and slide it down. And you can use our Tree Pro or our Miracle Tube. But look, now, even though I don't have a stake that can reach this top zip tie, I can still have an extension by making 2 slits instead of 1. And you can do this with the Tree Pro or the Miracle Tube. It doesn't matter which one, but it'll add that extra year of protection to get them above the deer browse. As an add-on to our extension video, here's a situation where we did an experiment using 30-inch tubes on some chestnut to see how they would do. They explode out the top. This tree reaches right about here. The deer have browsed it off. And what we did is, I took a 5-foot bamboo stake, ran it through the zip ties on the original tube, and then attached another extension to the top, zip tying everything to this taller stake. So now I've gone from a 30-inch tube, I added 24 inches to make it a 54-inch tube, which should get it up above the deer browse for at least another season. I might have to switch this out for a 5-foot Tree Pro that wraps around since this tree's too branched out next year. But for now, this will get me through the browse and the rub season. So this is another way to extend a shorter tube if you ordered too short of a tube for your planting.